Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Pauline Baird, cultural bearer from the village of Buxton, Guyana. As you know, I tell stories about our culture, our village, our whispered stories, our family traditions, our long forgotten and practiced traditions. Today on Book It, which is the literary section of What the Stories Say, I talk about books and authors. The reason is that people have been sending me their books, and since I was a child I was very bookish, and so I'm always booking it. So that's why the thing is called Book It. So in Book It, we're going to talk about Rediasporization, African Guyanese Kweh Kweh by Dr. Gillian Richards-Greaves. People, I had a front row seat in the making of this book. Gillian and I would talk almost every day about different things, including this book. And she has a chock full of messages in this book that are very vital to the understanding of an African Guyanese tradition. People might want to ask, why would someone go to university to write about Kweh Kweh? Kweh Kweh is not a thing in the village, common thing. Do you need a degree to talk about Kweh Kweh? You don't need a degree, but Kweh Kweh is useful and Kweh Kweh is valued and it can be talked about and written about even in the university. So Dr. Gillian Richards-Greaves holds PhD degrees in anthropology and ethnomusicology, and so she did a really good job in blending those fields in this book. So this thing has value, people. In this book she talks about the origin of Kweh Kweh, and I want to ask you, do you know where Kweh Kweh came from? Is Kweh Kweh an African tradition? Is it a Guyanese tradition? She says in this book the traditional Kweh Kweh emerged from among African slaves in Guyana and is historically its function as a medium for matrimonial instruction for soon-to-be brides. And although Guyanese argue that Kweh Kweh is their African heritage, there is no such thing in African tradition. In our African heritage, the ritual Kweh Kweh is not there. So she says, however, as an entity, Kweh Kweh is strikingly similar to indigenous African marriage ceremonies. So if we look at the Yoruba, they have a black wedding. And if we look at the Igbo, they have the wine carrying ceremony. And in Zambia, they have the Zambian kitchen party. But you can't go to Africa and say, I'm looking for Kweh Kweh. There's no such thing. It's among Guyanese. And it's similar to the bridal shower and the bachelorette party and things like that. She says, what is strikingly similar among the indigenous African marriages are the rituals and the unfolding of African music or musical performance, particularly in the connectedness of music and dance, so the pervasive call and response singing. People will use percussive timbres in the singing. They would use percussive instruments such as drums and found sounds. I think, and if I'm not mistaken, you can take a grater and a fork and make a new sound, things like that. And the expression of social commentary through music, we know that, right? You would give social commentary. So it's very, very inventive and creative. She says here, there's a counterclockwise movement of ritual in the dance. Do you know what that means? If you know what that means, you're good. If you don't, check this book out. To support ourselves and our own people who are writing, African Guyanese and other Guyanese, I want you to buy this book. Let's support our own. You can gift it to someone. But it's good reading. She says there are two parts to Kweh Kweh, a preparatory stage and the Kweh Kweh proper. The preparatory stage can last from days to weeks, and the proper thing will happen, at night, maybe around 10 o'clock. And there's a movement from the bridegroom's house to the bride's house, and things like that. I remember going to my own cousin's Kweh Kweh. I think it was Lorna Zephyr's Kweh Kweh. That's the only Kweh Kweh I've ever been to. Because as a child, I wasn't allowed to go to Kweh Kweh. My grandmother would say, Kweh Kweh for little picnic. And I could understand because they do all kinds of demonstration of, actions that married people should be engaged in. And I'm pretty sure it would have gone over my head, but that wasn't a place for little children. And I remember when they had the ring to dance around, there's a name for that. Check it out in this book if you don't know. They asked my cousin Lorna to whine. She got to show that she's a good girl. They must sing, them Zephyr girl, a good girl, them Zephyr girl, a good girl, and you're supposed to whine. But Lorna was not the whining kind in public, So the Zephyr girl's a good girl. These days they don't say the bougie. So, but somebody got to respond for the family. And lo and behold, my cousin Lynn, the younger sister, get up and begin for wine. Let me tell you, Because Lynn big your waist like a spring, me they know that. When look, Lynn wind up, she wind down, she go up, she go down, instead of waist I walk like a buck top. And she had to show them if a girl a good girl. So that's what happens at Kweh Kweh and much, much more. But this book here, I'm not going to tell you everything that's in this book. I'm going to whet your appetite. She says in this book there are 6 chapters. In the first chapter, it's called Who Kakali. Kakali is another name for Kweh Kweh, and there are quite a number of other names for Kweh Kweh. So it's called Who Kakali, Wedding-Based Kweh Kweh to Cultural Reenactment. So there's a reenactment of Kweh Kweh that happens in New York City. So she's going to be talking about that in particular. What do we do when we go abroad and we have things like Kweh Kweh? That's what she's been talking about and much more. Then she talks about where is the cook-up rice, extracting African and reconstructing home through food. As you know, cook-up rice is a part of the way of celebrating the bride and the groom, because you have to have food and cook-up is a part of it. And we claim that cook-up rice is a black thing, African Guyanese thing. So she's going to expound on food. What does that mean? You know, and how food reflects our culture. You want to hear more about that? Join us at 4:30 New York time. Oh my goodness. Someone on the phone. Join me at 4:30 New York time. In chapter 3, she talks about wiping, whining, and walking. Wiping, whining, and walking. So join us for that. Constructing, contesting, and displaying gender values. Why is it women do certain things? What are women instructed to do at the pre-wedding ceremony? You know, there are certain things that are passed on to us through our through women and matrilineal kind of line. So she's examining that. So when you come, we're going to talk more about that. And then there's beat the drum and the spirit gonna get up. Music, dance, and authenticity in rediasporization. But she's saying that when we take these things abroad and we reconstruct our heritage, how do we understand this business of beating of the drum there and abroad, at home and abroad? And we know that it has to do, people talk about the spirits when the drums beat, what they mean. So we're going to engage more in that. She talks about whether the drums really belong to Kweh Kweh. That's something important. Do drums really belong in Kweh Kweh? Were they originally there? And what kinds of drumming? What kinds of drums? And there's another part that conflates and contests this notion of Kweh Kweh among people who are religious. It's called Borrow a Day from God, Navigating the Boundaries of Race and Religion in Rediasporization. You know, there's some churches that forbid their members to be involved in Kweh Kweh. And for instance, I talked with Dion Douglas and Glasgow Douglas from Our Story Get Melody. And Dion said she really regretted because she resisted having a Kweh Kweh, even though her family begged her for Kweh Kweh. And she come from a Kweh Kweh family. And she did not want to have Kweh Kweh because she was of a certain religious organization. She was an adherent of that organization or that group, and she didn't want to have Kweh Kweh, much to her regret. So we can talk more about that. What do we do when we're religious? Is Kweh Kweh hidden? Is Kweh Kweh something that we can celebrate? How so and why not? And lastly, her last chapter is Wholly Fractured, Wholly Whole. Innovating traditions and reconstructing self in Come to My Kweh Kweh rituals. So here she's going to talk about what they actually do in Kweh Kweh rituals that they reenact in New York City. Not the Kweh Kweh at home, but it's a reenactment of a Kweh Kweh in New York City. What do they do? How do they understand it? And why? I encourage you to get this book here because Come to Me Kweh Kweh replicates the overarching segments of the traditional Kweh Kweh. A couple, a male and a female from an audience, acts as the bride and groom. And props are there to simulate the boundaries of the traditional performance in this space. And then they have a gate and they have the bride's home. This book draws on more than 1 decade of ethnographic research data and demonstrates how Come to Me Kweh Kweh allows African Guyanese Americans to navigate complex, overlapping identities in their new homeland by combining elements from the past, present, and reinterpreting them to facilitate a redispersation and ensure group survival. People, join us at 4:30, March 28th, and we will talk about Kweh Kweh. Joining from Japan is 4:30 in the morning. I will be there having conversations with Dr. Gillian Richards-Greaves about this book. Put it on your list, your wish list. It's on Amazon, and it's, I don't know how much it is on Amazon, but it's not a lot. Get it, and I'll talk to you soon. Walk good.